One.
Hello! Welcome to another episode of Talking Trubbish, the podcast where we get together and talk about every single Pokemon one at a time. Um, so this is a rare one-off episode where we just talk about one Pokemon. One Pokemon that's an evolution. Normally we don't do that. When last week we did Pikachu on its own because we figured as the mascot of the franchise we would have a very lot to speak about Pikachu. Like there is part of me that goes, maybe we'll actually have a brief episode with Raichu because it definitely doesn't have the reputation or like depth of character that Pikachu does.
Yeah.
However, it's us, so we're probably going to waffle and go off on tangents
Yeah.
and talk about a bunch of other shit. And
Mm.
we'll be here until midnight, as ever.
Yeah.
But to start with, my esteemed colleague, how have you been, Tom, my guy?
I've been good, mate. I've been good. I've had a very, very busy week. We started off the tour. We did North Wales. We've done the Edinburgh Horror Festival, which was very, very cool. I'm a big fan of Edinburgh in autumn. I have discovered it is very it's so beautiful. You know, like with all the trees turning, orange and the
Yep.
leaves. Because I've only ever been there in the summer, so that was very, very nice to see. We kicked off the competition
We did indeed.
for the plush, which I think is currently on 150 likes.
Wow. Would you like to remind anyone watching at home what the rules are for anyone who wants to get an entry in?
You got to share the post, so we've not actually had that many shares.
So good chance. Share the post or like post about how much you love us and
Yeah,
tag us in the post. Like that's it. That's all you got to do.
yeah,
Tag us in a post saying what a cool podcast we are, and you might win either the Pikachu or the Mimikyu.
yeah.
And we've not had a whole lot of people enter yet,
Nope.
so there's still plenty of opportunities for people to win.
Yeah, and the Pikachu comes with this little Pikachu and Mimikyu T-shirt on. Yeah, so
So cute.
if you win him, you've kind of won both.
Yeah.
Um, but
Like if you enter enough, you might win both.
uh, yes, yeah, why not? Why not? It'd save us on postage. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm hoping like last time, like someone who we know wins, and then I can just drop it off, and then
Yeah.
even less money.
That does make it convenient.
It
Yeah.
does. It very
Yeah.
much does. When it popped up on the last one, and I was like, oh, my ex. I used to live there. I don't even need the sat nav for that.
Nice.
So yeah, like I say, it's been very, very busy, like couple of weeks, just with the tour, and we're about to do a few more dates. We're working on some kind of cool stuff moving forward. I'm about to probably bring a producer for the show on board, which I've never had before. So
Exciting.
yeah, so hopefully that'll be good. Comedy Lab is up and running, which has only got one space left, and we got 2 weeks left to go. So that'll hopefully sell out, and then we'll hopefully get some dates for next year. And I make my West End debut next week, which will be very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very excited. So lots and lots of irons in the fire. What about you, mate?
I have had a considerably less busy couple of weeks. Sort of immediately after our last show, I fucked off to Spain and I've been there since.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I spent a week having all you can eat buffets for 3 meals a day and sitting in the sunshine because it's still nice and sunny there. And now I've come back here and it's like freezing cold enough that I have to bring out like my little Snorlax hoodie,
Oh, that is very
which
cute.
is the coziest thing I own. So shout out to my goddaughter's mum for that. Love you for getting me this for Christmas last year. It is like so comfortable and so cozy warm, and I appreciate you for getting me it. But yeah, apart from that, nothing, nothing. There's some Blizzard comedy coming up.
Yeah.
That's always a thing I can tell you about. So we've got tickets for our November show, which is going to be on November 13th,
Mm-hmm.
Monday 13th of November, with the absolutely brilliant Tom Mayhew. I love
Oh, I
him
love
so
it.
much. He is so talented and smart. And we are very lucky to have him coming all the way up to Manchester. So I'm going to pop some links to that in the chat. You can book tickets are as always free. We still have a bunch left somehow. Like that's one that I would have thought would sell out in a heartbeat because Tom is just so good.
Yeah.
And then we've got our next broadcast Avalanche on the 27th of November, which I'm going to be on instead of just doing the behind the scenes. Um, yeah, so that's going to be fun. And we've got a really great lineup, uh, including just some of my favorite regulars. So I've put a link where you can RSVP to the Facebook event in the group chat because it's really fucking good,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you should watch it. But yeah, that's it. Like I've not been doing anywhere near as many exciting things as you have, but just getting on with the day to day, really.
Well, I mean, I had a question, which is, so you went to Spain, is that correct?
I did indeed.
Did you see any stuff that reminded you of Pokemon Violet and Scarlet?
Tell you what, I nearly bought some Spanish Pokemon cards.
Oh, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I was in. So we decided to go to venture beyond the all-inclusive hotel and just check out some of the local bars.
Yeah.
Ended up in another hotel, but because we weren't all-inclusive, we had to pay for drinks there. So not the best, not the smartest choices there. I bought a hat that has a picture of a chicken and the word cock on it because I'm a child.
Yeah.
But it was like €4, so it's like what a fucking bargain. Um, and yeah, I bought it in like one of those little tourist shops. And when I went to the checkout, they had a bunch of like Spanish Pokemon cards. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to get some Spanish Pokemon cards. But I didn't, even though again, they were like €1 a pack. And over here they're like £4 now.
Mm.
So I'm pretty pleased with myself for having resisted. Because like I don't need Pokemon cards and I don't need Spanish ones. I would get them and then they would just take up space in my house.
Yeah.
So I didn't get them, which is good. But on the way home, uh, some mates of mine stopped at McDonald's while they were still in Spain. And in Spain, they still have Pokemon cards in the Happy Meals.
Yeah.
So instead of getting like a grown-up meal, my two friends each got like two Happy Meals each instead. And
Yeah.
they got the Pokemon cards. And they were like texting me the Pokemon cards that they got, which was cute. And I was a little bit jealous when the conversation was happening. But uh I also know that by now they would just be in my house being annoying rather than um a thing I ever did anything with. They would just take up space.
Yeah.
Um like I thought, like you get them like Etsy creators who turn Pokemon cards into like jewelry and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought they were really cool, but because I'm allergic to jewelry, I can't wear them. But I thought it could be fun to like make them, and that way I get to buy Pokemon cards, which I enjoy,
Yeah.
and then they don't clutter up my house,
Mm.
and like someone else gets a cool bit of jewelry, you know. But I literally have never bothered to do it.
Yeah.
I've always thought it might be cool, and then I've just not done it because I have enough shit going on,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, I love the like when people do stuff with the artwork. So like I remember there being like a trend for where they would like what's it called, where they would like extend the artwork. I remember that being like a thing for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like for anyone who like don't know, just go on a big screen. So like say this Clefable, they'd like extend all kind of the forest around it, so that it became like one piece of artwork. I always thought that looked really cool. And there was also someone who did a thing that was like, say for example this like Aerodactyl, they'd like turn it into like polymer clay, so it's like actually coming out at you, and like another one that I seem to recall. So like people will take like multiples, so they'll take say this Aerodactyl and then kind of cut the Aerodactyl out to make it like 3D on the back of like another, and they look pretty cool. Although do not do it with this card because I don't know if you can see, but it says pre-release, which means it is a slightly rarer one than your usual.
That's very cool. I've got like, you can't see because it's too far, but one of those frames over there, and also another frame that's fallen down and I've not bothered to pick up, is a thing that my friend Kaylee bought me a few years back. So I've got a Crobat and a Sableye, which are two of my favourite Pokemon. And it's the Pokemon card of it, and then it's like a little bead art of the sprite. So because it's beads, it's got that pixely look, and it's just in a frame with the two together. And I think those are really fucking cute, which is also like a nice little gifty thing. So yeah, I just, it was not that like, yeah, it was like a sort of like thing to do with my hands, and also an excuse to buy Pokemon cards is why I thought it would be fun to do. But also, never got around to it with the amount of shit I'm already doing.
Well, mate,
so
as you know, mate, when I come stay with you next week, I shall be bringing some decks with me. So prepare to meet your new addiction, mate.
Here is the thing, right? I played the trading card game on the Switch, Game Boy, Nintendo Switch Online thing that lets you play Game Boy games, and I did enjoy it. It did make a lot of sense. Like some things fell into place that have always confused me about Pokemon. Like why are gym leaders only using one type? Someone shows up with something you've got a type advantage against, and you're fucked. Yeah, with a type advantage against you, and you're just fucked. And here it makes sense because like you've got a limited amount of space in your deck, and you've got to add cards to use moves. It makes so much more sense than in the main series games and in the show.
Prepare.
And I did enjoy it, and I did like the deck building element, and I did like doing it to the point that I thought about getting like the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game that's on the Switch right now, just because I wanted some more like deck builder games. And then I thought, no, I don't need to do that. I have like 3 games in my review queue that I haven't written yet. I'm not allowed any more games until I've finished those. But one keeps crashing, which is a shame because it is really good.
Are you going to mention that in the review?
It depends. I've messaged my editor and said, like, are the devs aware that this game keeps crashing? Are they fixing it? Or, like, do they think it's done? Because if it's done, I have to give it, like, a 0 because I can't recommend people spend money on it. But up until it started crashing, I really fucking liked it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll wait till they get back to me.
So 2 points. So first of all, I feel like this is the best, but also the worst possible thing that I could do in regards to you and the Pokemon trading card game. I intend to bring a bat themed deck for you to try out. It does have a shitload of Golbats in there. So and that's by coincidence. It's a deck that I just happen to have, and you happen to like Golbats. But I was like, well, not Golbats, Crobats.
Crobats.
So that just feels like the logical one to bring.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the other, but the other thing is this may or may not surprise you, but I used to play the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. I say may. There's no chance that surprised you.
Yeah.
But I have got a deck somewhere in this house that I remember going, oh, these are like all my most rarest and most powerful cards in a deck. I'm going to hide it. And I hid it so well that I still don't know where it is.
Oh no, that's so bad.
My first edition Dark Magician, my first edition Blue Eyes. That could be. I feel like those. When it comes out in the, when it comes out in the news every couple of weeks, and it'll be like, Bitcoin billionaire can't find their hard drive or whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Billionaire.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Billionaire.
Can't find deck that was hidden so well by his 10-year-old self.
To be fair, I wish I'd hidden my Pokemon cards better because my mum decided for me that I'd grown out of them and gave them to my little brother. And my little brother didn't like Pokemon cards, so he gave them away to his friends at school. I had two Mew cards.
Which Mew?
Two, like the ones from the film. The
ancient Mew card.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
And a bunch of other cool shit. And I don't have them. And I'm very annoyed. Very annoyed indeed.
Well, if people ever want to, subscribe to our Patreon, I'll do a breakdown of my complete base deck, my complete base selection.
That would be some cool bonus content. Like, to be fair, we've got like a million ideas for bonus content to do kind of around this like infinite episode podcast already. But like between seasons, we've got time for like a breakdown of like characters and like decks and shit. And it's like we do not have time around our other shit to do more of this show and also have jobs to pay for all the shit that we do, unfortunately. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But if our Patreon was paying £1,000 a month, we would. I'm sure we would make time. I'll tell you what. On the note of other stuff, right? I had this idea of when it comes to the drawings. At least for this episode, right? Because I think I know what you drew this week.
Do you?
I think I do.
Go on.
And I thought I would, and I also thought that you might know what I would do. So, I have predicted that you have gone for either they're both variations of the same idea: Surfing Raichu, aka Alolan Raichu, on its own, or like the split normal and surfing Raichu.
Okay.
And like I say, I predict that you will be able to guess what I have drawn.
I didn't even think about what you've drawn, and now I feel very put on the spot.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like you'll show me it. I feel like you'll show me it and be like, "Yeah, that was obvious." But now that you've said that, I'm drawing a complete blank.
Well, all right. Well, I'll show you what I drew. I should have run this past you before we went live.
Yeah.
And it's just because as I was drawing it, I was like, I think I know what Kirsty's done this week, and then I was like, I feel like I'm being such a such a predictable little man. That, so I went with. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a clue. Very iconic.
Is it the Raichu getting slammed in the face from the opening credits?
It's not that one. It's still from the anime though.
Let me think. What other Raichus are there in the anime? Like the main Raichu that I think of is Lieutenant Surge's.
Yeah, it's his.
Raichu. Is it? I don't know, because that's like the main bit. Like it gets its face slammed in the floor.
Well, actually, I tell a lie. Maybe I've been a bit. It's just before that happens. So.
Oh, is it doing the Thunder Punch? Yeah. That's the bit I was talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I was convinced that you would guess, that you would be like, and I bet you Tom did Lieutenant Surge's Raichu.
I think that is a very like iconic Raichu moment because there aren't many. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what I did with this one as well. When I did the Pikachu picture, I felt like I had finally discovered what my art style was, which is rushed.
Rushed. I mean, fair.
So I was like, right, I'm gonna continue that same art style at least for a bit. So,
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So that's the two I went with. Which did you go for?
I mean, you weren't wrong. I did a Alolan Raichu with a normal Raichu, watching it fly away.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool. God, yours is going to win this month.
I don't know. I didn't like how it. I didn't. I don't know how I feel about how it came out. Because like, I got about like 5 seconds. I got like one line into my drawing. Um, and then the doorbell rang. And in case it was something important, I went up and got it. But obviously these are timed. So I was looking at my one line and I was like, does this count as like stopping? And then I was like, I've drawn one line. I feel like I'm allowed to start again on that one.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't got far enough through the picture that it looked like a Raichu yet. And then it turned out the doorbell was fucking Jehovah's Witnesses, so I didn't answer it. But I was thrown off my game, and I feel like this is worse than my original one would have been. I don't know why. I've convinced myself of that. But I did know I wanted a Alolan Raichu in for reasons I'll get into when we start the show proper. So
Yeah.
shall we talk about Raichu?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, let's do it.
So your fundamental memories of Raichu, Tom, what are they?
My fundamental memories of Raichu. I'm fairly certain that I will have had one at some point. And my main memory of Raichu, and I'm fairly certain that I remember. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this on the Pikachu episode, right? A friend of mine discovered that you could not evolve yellow Pikachu because it does the whole no, don't want to get evolved, and as a result, I've lost my train of thought there. Okay, so as a result, he traded his Pikachu over to me to evolve it, and then trade it back. And then he discovered that it did not still follow him round, so he was very disappointed.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as well, it saves the game as well. So he was stuck with that Raichu from that point on. And on top of that, I also ruined his day further with another favourite Pokemon of the show, which was a Meowth, right? So we had like swapped games for some reason. Right, so I was on his game, he was on mine, and I went, "Do you have a Meowth?" And it was. Oh, sorry, like I say, I spotted that in the chat and I fixed it, and then I've just lost my train of thought. Right, I'm gonna go back in time.
Meowth.
Right,
your friend had a Meowth.
Right, so I'm playing this game, he's playing my game, and I went, "Have you got a Meowth?" And he was like, "No, I don't have a Meowth." And I was like, "Should I try and catch it for you?" So I used up all of his Pokeballs on it, and this was before I realised that you can't capture another trainer's Pokemon. So
No. Does it? No, it comes up with a warning when you do that.
I know, but
you're not reading the game.
No, I obviously weren't patient enough. I obviously weren't. I obviously wasn't paying enough attention. So I used up all of his Ultra Balls, and lost his Raichu for him. And,
no.
And that's my main memory of Raichu. Now, I have never had an Alolan Raichu.
So I definitely had lots of Raichus over the years because I was a completionist on the Pokedex, so I would always get a Pikachu, evolve it, and then chuck it in a box. So I always had Raichu. And I feel like Pikachu being the mascot means that like Raichu got a little bit shafted because the amount of people who are going to want to use the Pikachu like Ash does means that Pikachu, which you can find at like level 3 really early on in the game, has to have kind of good stats in order to be viable. Which means that Raichu's stats must be fucking excellent. And and then no one ever evolved it. So it got really fucking shafted. Um, for like compared to the other electric Pokemon you can get, because Generation 1 didn't have like loads. It had like Voltorb, which you could get fairly early on. Electabuzz you couldn't get until later. Um, and like Magnemite is okay, I guess. Like I really like Magnezone.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously like Magneton is now a middle evolution, so I reckon that had fairly average stats too. I reckon Raichu is probably one of the tankier electric Pokemon in the game. Not including like legendaries.
Mm.
Um, and yet is really underappreciated because everyone used a Pikachu instead, which I is a trap I definitely fell into. I did finally get a Raichu on my team in Pokemon Let's Go. And I had Let's Go Eevee. I didn't have Let's Go Pikachu, where I would have used a Pikachu.
Yeah.
I had Let's Go Eevee, and then in the Let's Go games, you can catch Kanto Pokemon, and any Kanto Pokemon that has a regional variant from somewhere else, you will find someone in the game who's like, can you trade me this Pokemon and I'll trade you a regional variant from where I'm from, which is how I got my Alolan Raichu.
Yeah.
I didn't use it in Sun and Moon, but I had it in Let's Go Eevee and I fucking loved it. I used it so much more than my Eevee. Like, even though that Eevee had boosted stats because it's like the one that you get, your partner that is like tankier than all of the other unevolved Pokemon you'll meet. I used my Raichu more. I loved it. My Alolan Raichu was fucking incredible. I think it has some really good electric moves, and the addition of the psychic ability was like just made it so good. I loved it. I thought it was a great thing to have on my team, and like 10 out of 10 would use again. Like up until now, my electric types have frequently been Luxray and Magnezone. Um, and I think Alolan Raichu might have just like pipped both of them, because I think that because like obviously Luxray is single type. I think it should be Electric Dark, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Agreed.
Which means you don't get stab on its wealth of dark type moves. And Magnezone has like 4 weaknesses because it's like kind of shit. But I just quite like it. I think it's pretty cool. I think electric steel typing is cool, but it's actually not as useful as the what I found my Alolan Raichu being electric psychic. I actually thought it was dope. And as an adult, I can see Raichu is really like underrated because it got very eclipsed by Pikachu. But yeah, using it now, I appreciate that, and like I'm sorry it took me so long to realize it. And also, separate thing, I like that Raichu's still fat. Like
Yeah.
when all of the other Pokemon got slimmed down, like Raichu's still a nice chunky boy.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Me and Kirsty often tag each other in various Pokemon memes, and we either you tag me or the other way around on a chunky Meowth the other week, and I think you pointed out that chunky Meowth has never come back.
Yeah, I miss Chunky Meowth.
Yeah.
I liked it when they were all sort of like pot-bellied. I thought that was cute. Like I feel like most Generation 1 Pokemon were like kind of fat. And now they're all like skinny. I don't like it. Not a fan.
No, who dictated that? Who decided that all the Pokemon need to be put on a diet? Not me.
No. The same people the same people who are, acting like Gardevoir and Lopunny are the best Pokemon designs ever. Like, fuck off. You're just a furry.
Yeah.
Like, go and be a furry somewhere else and let me have my little fat baby.
Agreed. One day when we come to reading the Pokedex entry on Lopunny, I think that the furry professor will be having a field day.
Oh yeah, I am gonna do. I I'm gonna just avoid the internet for a long time around the Lopunny episode. I feel like I don't like it. I don't like what I know would happen if you were to Google Lopunny.
Very true. Very, very true. It wouldn't all just be the Cadbury caramel advert, but it'd still be sticky.
No, stop. Don't.
I'll tell you what, I did not know that Alolan Raichu was electric psychic.
Did you not?
No. Do you know what, right?
How did you think it surfs on its tail?
Water?
It uses its psychic power.
Yeah, I thought it was water.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just, yeah. Do you know what, right? I've been thinking about it because, I feel like, I thought about Pokemon a lot, but since doing this podcast, I obviously think about it like a lot more. And I've got this thing with games where I like to not know too much going in.
Mm-hmm.
And the more and more I think about Pokemon, the more and more I'm feeling like maybe it's designed. It probably is designed so that you like learn as much as you can about it. Like how do these Pokemon evolve? What like typing does it do? What are the back and forth and all that kind of stuff? And I think when I was a kid, I viewed that as like cheating. Like if I knew, if I knew what level, what moves it would get at what level, and like where to find it versus just finding one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, maybe that's what they're going for with it being like a Pokemon Master. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I like the sense of adventure of figuring it out for myself, but at the same time, when I was a kid playing Red and Blue, I was given like a game guide, by for like Christmas by a family. So I've actually always had. I was given like a Pokédex book as well, which I used to carry around with me until all the pages fell out. That told you like where Pokemon evolve, where you could find them, like what level and how. And so I always kind of like I didn't think of it as like a cheat guide. I thought of it as just like I'm so obsessed with Pokemon, I want to know all this shit. And it meant that like I knew where everything was anyway. And now, because I'm like so accustomed to like knowing everything, while I'm going on my adventure, I'll be like, I don't want to leave this bit until I've got all the Pokemon I can get here. And sometimes I will storm on ahead because I know I can always come back.
Mm.
But if I'm like playing a region that I know and I know there are Pokemon to find, like I will stay until I've got all of them. So, I end up being a bit over leveled and my um uh yeah, and my dex gets filled fairly quickly. And then yeah, I don't know. Um, I'm just used to having the knowledge. It just feels like second nature to be like, I'm gonna check Bulbapedia because even when I had red and blue and like wasn't allowed on the internet because I was 6, I was still sitting there with a book with all the information in it of like what I needed to do. So, um, yeah, there was actually not all that much of a sense of going on the adventure for the first time for me because I'd done it so much. I knew where everything was. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like I say, I mean, I went into it with that kind of like, okay, I'm gonna kind of work it out as I go, and like I remember, so I got to the point where I could get through the caves without Flash because
Yeah,
I've been
you
lost
knew the
there so
way.
long.
Yeah.
But I also discovered Flash, which I think is also the first of the disappointing HMs,
Yeah.
which Raichu presumably is most people's Flash HM slave.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, through doing this podcast, it's made me go, oh, maybe there is different kind of mindsets and approaches towards it.
Yeah.
And mine has always been to like discover it as the game tells me about it. But as a result, it means that I never knew that Alolan Raichu was electric psychic.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That's fair.
I had always just assumed it was electric water.
It's not electric water.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thought it was electric water. Hence the surfing bit.
No, it surfs using its psychic energy. Um, Instead, like it levitates rather than surfs on actual water.
Mm.
Um,
Another memory that I do have of Raichu as well, and this is presumably off the back of the of how popular Pikachu is. Uh, it's the first, I think, Pokemon card that I came across that has two variants. Uh,
ah,
so, well, I mean, and Pikachu does as well, but like, um, there's Fossil Raichu and there's also Jungle Raichu, and
okay.
like I almost drew Fossil Raichu for my drawing, but I was like, no, I'll go with Lieutenant Surge. And then I feel like that's quite a good link in. So he's my other like big memory is Lieutenant Surge's Raichu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I feel like there's like Raichu appears in the background of the show a lot, but it's very rarely like a focal point. Like apart from Lieutenant Surge's, I don't really know any other Raichu there, and there are a couple,
mm,
but like none that stand out, none that were like a massive plot point. Go has a Raichu in the new ones, which was quite cute because like uh him and Ash went to a place where Pikachu were digging up Thunderstones to evolve, where Go caught a female Pikachu that had a crush on Ash's Pikachu.
mm.
And at the end of the episode, she evolves, so like Go has a Raichu. Um, it was a cute episode. Um, I don't know if Ash's Pikachu and Go's Raichu continued to date afterwards. She makes a few more appearances, but she, like, yeah, it's only in that one episode where they're flirty.
Yeah. Is Go's Raichu a quick Raichu? Because the law around Surges is that he evolved it too quickly, so it lost all its
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah, like all of Pikachu's like speed-based moves are learned um high-ish level, I guess. High-ish level. Um I don't know. Go doesn't really battle a lot. Ash does the battling and Go does the collecting. So um and yeah, you don't see that Pikachu do a lot of moves before she evolves. And I don't remember seeing the Raichu battle much after that episode because I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah. Does it have a heart-shaped tail?
It did, and then it evolved, and it doesn't when it evolves. Like
Oh,
the gender differences in Raichu are less noticeable than the gender differences in Pikachu.
oh. Again, so I feel like I learn loads on this podcast. Um, but something else that I like about Raichu is the the like the reasoning behind some of its like canon traits, such as it gets more powerful, therefore it gets like a longer tail. Um, it's got the ears in order to kind of work as like lightning rods. I like all that kind of stuff, and I kind of wish that they did that more with other Pokemon as well.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Um,
But
it is a cool little feature that Raichu has.
it is. So yeah, so that's kind of my main memory is messing up my friend's Pokemon Yellow, getting rid of all of his Ultra Balls whilst I was at it, and Lieutenant Surge's Raichu, which is slower than Ash's Pikachu, and I feel like it is a continuation of this theme where Ash has to kind of work it out in order to. He can't just go in there and just power his way through.
Yeah, and I think like given Ash had some terrible fucking strategy uh during some of the uh um earlier episodes, I I am impressed that he managed to do anything.
Mm,
Well, even the early series, and then there were some seasons in the middle that were just like poorer quality in general, where Ash got really bad at everything and just became a shit character to watch. Again, in the new seasons, the one with Go, Ash actually is a genuinely good strategist, and that is what his skill set is. Like he is the one who's good at battling. Go is the one that's collecting the Pokemon. So I think that is quite a key distinction between Ash as he goes through the various seasons. But yeah, that was some interesting bit of strategy. It just shows him that was one of the few times where you do see him being genuinely good at Pokemon battling.
mm,
Because I think for a long time they weren't very good at writing like that,
mm,
like that element of his character. I think yeah, the most recent seasons do that a lot better, and I think it's because they've established so many Pokemon now that they can just focus more on him rather than like making the whole story about a Pokemon that they meet.
mm.
Because that they did a lot in the first season, which is fine because it made for episodes that entertained me enough.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, apart from that, yeah,
yeah,
that's all I have on Raichu, to be honest. Like, there's not a whole lot about it. Like you said, Lieutenant Surge's Raichu, and then my Alolan Raichu in Let's Go Eevee. Which I really like because I feel like if I got Let's Go Pikachu, I would have had the Pikachu on my team, and I wouldn't have bothered trying to use the Alolan Raichu.
yeah,
But because I didn't have an electric type, I was like, fuck it, let's give this a go, and I actually fucking loved it. I
yeah,
thought it was great.
yeah. I'll tell you one thing that you have made me think of as well. I'm going off on a slight tangent, just about like the anime. So like the way that is in the anime, I like that's like the towns and the cities and and when they go like through Viridian Forest and you can like see how like massive places like Vermilion City is. Um, like that's the way that in my head, at least as a kid, I was like that's kind of how it looks. But the games can only show you so much.
Yeah.
So like, when people like. I know that they're kind of joking, but like they're like, oh, like the Pallet Town's literally got your house, Gary Oak's house,
Yeah.
and Professor Oak's house. It's like, well, it probably doesn't. It's just that's the only bits that
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. Like there are clearly other people standing in Pallet Town. Like where the fuck did they live? In the trees.
Do you know what? The reason why I said Pallet Town then was because I could not for the life of me remember the name of Cinnabar Island.
Yeah.
I was like,
Which yeah. Like it has like a science lab, a Pokemon gym, the Pokemon market, the Pokemon Center, and then an abandoned, burned down mansion and like one house. All right. How are these four um important like businesses, like places of work being populated with staff when there's one fucking house on in the whole town and it's an island as well.
yeah,
Um yeah, like it's definitely a streamlined impression of what it really is.
mm. um, but yes, Raichu, I think overlooked due to Pikachu.
Yeah, massively overlooked due to Pikachu, and as an adult, I have learned very tragically so. I'm really glad it got an Alolan form, that gave people an excuse to use it a bit more, because I really fucking liked it. I think it pushed me to try something I hadn't tried before.
Yeah,
And because otherwise, I might have just gone with a Magnemite, not Magnemite, a Magneton, because I already knew I liked Magnezone. May as well go with something I'm familiar with, get that
mm,
dual typing on my team. And yeah, and Alolan Raichu, fucking game changer.
yeah. I mean, so here's the question, right? So if I take a Kanto Pikachu across to Alola and evolve it there, will it become Alolan Raichu?
I don't know. I don't know. You can experiment if you want. Like obviously in Let's Go, it's like no, because you can't get to Alola from there. You have to trade it. But yeah, I don't know about the other games. Like I don't think the different regions interact in such a way that you could test that hypothesis. If I had to guess, I would imagine that it's like a Pikachu born in Alola or a Pichu born in Alola would grow into an Alolan Raichu because of its upbringing in Alola and the way its genetics has changed from generations of Pikachu being living in Alola compared to like one that was born in Kanto. Again, the like it's both nature and nurture there combine to create the regional form is what I would imagine.
Mm.
Even if it's just that's the story they give you to justify why like a Pikachu coded Kanto Pikachu evolves into Kanto
Mm.
Raichu, even if it's in Alola.
Mm. Well, we now know to do some experiments for the next one. But yes, should we have a look at its Pokédex entries?
Let's do that.
Okay, so there we go. So there he is. Normal Raichu along with Alolan Raichu. I've just noticed its ears, which I am a fan of. They're very very cute.
Yeah, they are. I think Raichu's quite cute. I think it's like overlooked by Pikachu, which is the cuter of the two, but still cute.
Yeah, and also I'm guessing from this because normally when I scroll down, it'll have if it has a Gigantamax, yeah, Gigantamax form. But so Pikachu gets Gigantamax form, and Raichu don't. What?
Yeah,
What an
Raichu
overlooked.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think Raichu is used less often, um, because Pikachu, like I said, popular mascot, you know, is the one that everyone wants because they want to be like, you know, the show. But no, I really like Alolan Raichu, my guy.
I'll tell you something that has been added though. Is it has got we've got the red and green. We've got the red and green again. What I'm hoping is when that comes back up, that we'll be able to see the lore, how the lore changes. Because if it's anything like Pikachu, we will have like progression from the anime, and we'll also have we'll also see how it changed from the video game into the anime. Like I'm hoping that it's going to have a whole bunch of stuff about like the speed.
Okay.
But so let's have a look. So we've got Pokemon Red and Blue. We've got Red and Green, but that comes up later. Red and Blue. Its long tail serves as a ground to protect itself from its own high voltage power, and that's linking back to what we were saying before about how its design links into the lore. So
Yeah. I think that's a fairly standard, fairly normal start to kick things off with.
yeah, and I think it also implies that it is more powerful than
Yeah.
the base form.
Yeah, because like Pikachu's tail can be used for similar things, but it doesn't need to protect itself. I feel like it's a nice stepping stone, showing that power differential between Pikachu and Raichu.
Then we got Yellow. When electricity builds up inside its body, it becomes feisty. It also glows in the dark. Now, I never knew that.
I never knew it glows in the dark. I would like to see it glowing in the dark. I would like to have seen that in the show.
Yeah.
Like, is that because like Raichu can learn Flash? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Do you think that's like the thing?
I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be a lovely little nightlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine trying to get to sleep and your Raichu's just glowing and you're like, can you not? Go sleep in the other room.
I mean, do you know what? It reminds me of. I have one of my exes used to sleep with like string lights along the bed, and I used to have to wait for her to fall asleep before I could switch them off. And that period of time, it was like torture. I would be like,
Yeah, that would annoy me. I would be like, I'm gonna go sleep somewhere else. Bye.
well, this is that was a conversation that was to come. So next up, we have got Stadium Professor. Its electrical attacks may reach 10,000 volts. Right, first bit of dick swinging. It discharges. Yeah. It discharges electricity from its tail, so it is not harmed by its own power. Now, what we already know about Stadium Professor is that he is not above harming the Pokemon. So that to me sounds like he was
pushing that Raichu to see if it could hurt itself.
Yeah. What a dick. What a dick. He was like, we're at 10,000 volts, and if it doesn't have if it doesn't discharge from its tail, it actually hurts itself. Why did you need to know that, Stadium Professor?
I feel like that could be quite an interesting way to factor in an electrical move that causes recoil damage, specifically through, because normally recoil damage is for physical moves, like takedown. I think. And like even electrical moves like Wild Charge that have recoil damage, it's Wild Charge, so we assume that damage is caused by like crashing so hard into your opponent. I think that could have been a really interesting way to factor in a special move, special attack based move that damages Raichu as well. But it would have had to have been one of the most powerful moves in the game to be 10,000 volts.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been cool, but I don't think they did. And this is why I should have a job.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all for Kirsty getting a job with Nintendo. I've been saying that since episode 1. Something I thought has occurred. Am I right in thinking that this is our first special evolution?
Yes.
Yeah, because my feeling with the stones is that it's almost a bit of like an unnatural evolution, and I don't know, I can't remember if this is actual canon or my head canon, that like part of the reason why it's like the tail gets longer and it gets bigger is because it's like a mutation as part of the evolution when it touches the Thunderstone.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I don't know how evolution stones work.
Like, I want to say that may be a core memory that's lodged in there somewhere from the Lieutenant Surge episode.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, the evolution stones are still considered like fairly a mystery, particularly because of like the Clefairy episode, where they go on about how they don't understand how it works, but the Clefairies have the relationship with the Moonstone, yada yada. And then later on, they're just like, oh yeah, other things, you touch it with a stone, ta-da, done. And like they do go into some detail about like the stones having an impact on Pokemon DNA, and that's why Eevee can evolve into different things using different stones, because it has like malleable DNA.
Yeah.
Which they touch on in like the first season. They go into more detail in the most recent season. So I do like that is something, not the most recent season, like the last one with Ash.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, it's quite interesting. But I don't think if there are any definitive answers, I didn't pay enough attention to it.
Well, and one other thought that I've had, which is, I don't know if you thought this. So I've mentioned it many times on this podcast. I'm a big fan of a grass type, And I always thought that the Firestone looks really cool. The Waterstone looks really cool. Like the Firestone's like the red crystal with like the flame in the middle. The Waterstone's like got like the ice running through it. The Thunderstone's like yellow with a lightning bolt through it. And the Leafstone is just a rock with a leaf on it.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Who designed that? That is. I remember even as a kid thinking that looked utterly shite.
Yep.
Right, should we head into Gen 2?
Yeah. What does gold and silver say?
Alright, we've got when its electricity builds, its muscles are stimulated and it becomes more aggressive than usual. Now that sounds like Stadium Professor probably had a day. A day in the lab when Gold was getting their Pokédex.
Well, if you have a look at Stadium 2, that is the same. So maybe Gold's just copying off Stadium 2's homework. Because Gold found out about the 10,000 volts and didn't want to piss off a Raichu. So he's just like, yep, I'll take that.
Yeah, they're like, you say 10,000 volts. And, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that is probably not a coincidence that Stadium Professor is involved with them getting more aggressive than you. Like, what were you doing, Stadium Professor? I reckon it was slapping him with a rubber glove. Because we know he ain't above cracking open Kakoonas and Metapods. So what's a slap with a Marigold?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we got Silver. If the electric pouches in its cheeks become fully charged, both ears will stand up.
Cute.
Yeah, very cute. Very cute.
Yeah.
I am a fan of Raichu's ears.
Yeah, it's little twitchy little ears. Yeah. Crystal has, if its electric pouches run empty, it raises its tail to gather electricity from the atmosphere, which I guess means that its tail is a conduit for its electrical power. If it's overcharging, it releases it, and if it's undercharged, it collects it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I thought it as a kid, like, you know, like when where does the Squirtle get its water from? Like, is it is it taking it from its own cells? I mean, like, it's slightly different from like Goldeen, you know.
Well, there was that post that went around that was like, Pokemon don't shit because their special moves use up all the energy from their food.
What?
Have you not seen that?
No.
Hang on, I need to find it.
Pokemon
it was like an official Pokemon company, and I was like, no, I don't care if this is canon, I'm getting rid of it. Right.
This sounds like Stadium Professor was given a day on the Instagram.
There was a post. There was a post floating around the internet, and I don't know where it was.
It's like, because that happened with Harry Potter not that long ago, didn't it? Where I want to say it was J.K. Rowling said, oh yeah, before toilets they just used to shit and make it disappear. And it's like, why did you decide to make that fucking canon?
Now I wonder if it was a like internet thing that got out of hand to the point that now everyone think it is.
I hope
there
so.
are definitely. There was definitely something going around the internet that was like Pokemon special moves are like a byproduct of them digesting stuff, so they don't need to shit. If anyone can find that, send it my way, because I'm just getting a bunch of like Reddit threads I don't want to look at when I'm googling it. So if anyone else wants to do my homework for me, I don't. Yes, I even if that is canon, I don't want to believe it. Like,
oh, that has got me.
I'm surprised that's not one you've seen before.
No. No.
Like, it's definitely like it just does the rounds in like the Pokemon faces on the internet every so often. So I figured it might have been something you'd come across before.
No.
You actually died.
Oh, do you know what, right? Whenever I'm kind of in comedy mode, right, I'm aware, like, I'd like to think this is a somewhat funny podcast, but like, I don't approach it trying to be like funny, singer. But I feel like it's very difficult once I've like made that switch in my head. Like, it's very difficult to get me, and the idea of being like, oh, Pokemon don't shit because because they've got to Razor Leaf.
Yeah. But it's like, what if like your Pokemon special move is like dig or sand attack, where it is obviously using the environment. They're definitely not using like
like it's like, so are we also like by extension saying that like Squirtle's like water cannon is piss?
Apparently.
Yeah. Oh god, that had me. And the more that you try to explain it, the more ridiculous it felt.
I feel like I'm trying to find. So there aren't like lots of references to shit. Obviously, it wouldn't be. But like, apparently there are some Pokemon Moon. We'll get to it when we get to Diglett. It says its droppings in rich soils, which is why it's used by farmers. P-Dove droppings are referenced because, like, I guess like pigeons shit all over everything, so that makes sense. Galarian wheezing does say because it's like a chimney and it's supposed to be like the opposite of regular wheezing, it expels clean air instead of droppings, which is a bit weird. So I don't know. I don't know how verified that is, or if it is just like an internet theory that has ended up becoming a bit of wider canon. But if it floats my way again, I shall be sure to like make sure you get the full memo should I ever come across it again.
And I will be sure to find it utterly hilarious.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. That's possibly my favourite thing that we've done on this podcast so far. I had a great time.
We've been doing this for so long. Like, how is a casual reference to Pokemon shit your best bit? Like,
because I'm, I like to make myself out as if I'm, I'm this creative comic artist, but actually no, I'm a big old hack that finds turds funny.
I mean, yeah, fair. Shall we carry on with the Pokédex entries?
Yeah, Gen 3, the furry professor.
Ruby has, if the electrical sacs become excessively charged, Raichu plants its tail in the ground and discharges. Scorched patch of ground we found near this Pokemon's nest. Now, I think that could be a really cool thing to factor into like future games. Like, as they get more detail, we've said this before, like as they're getting better at environments and they're showing like the natural habitat a bit more, how it'd be cool to see the impact, like when you're coming to like a nest of some kind of Pokemon, see these things that it says are happening in the world around them. I think that'd be really cool. If you're going near like some Raichu, you get the scorched earth there.
Yeah.
And that could even be like a fun twist. It could be like, can you investigate what fire type Pokemon is scorching all this earth, and that you like, so you take a bunch of water types and then twist it's a Raichu.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like a cool little mission to go on?
Yeah.
Should that ever be a game that they make?
Yeah.
I'd be up for that.
I'll do a thing where, in addition to, because like when I used to play Red and Blue, I used to use cut. You know, if I couldn't be bothered going through the tall grass. And you can have a thing where if you've got a Raichu, if you want to, you can burn the tall grass. Not have to deal with any more Pokemon in there.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. We'll go next. This Pokemon exudes a weak electrical charge from all over its body that makes it take on a slight glow in darkness. Raichu searches for electricity by planting its tail in the ground. Yeah, that builds on what we've been told so far, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
If it stores too much electricity, its behavior turns aggressive. To avoid this, it occasionally discharges excess energy and calms itself down. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that's like kind of just more of what we've heard before. Fire Red, which I guess is the original Japanese.
Yeah. Because
Its electric charges can reach even 100,000 volts, which is even more dick swinging than Stadium Professor, who's just said 10,000.
oh yeah.
Careless contact can cause even an Indian elephant to faint. Now, this implies that Pokemon exist in the same world as elephants.
Yeah.
And I remember this, and I remember this being a point of contention, being like, have you ever seen a fucking elephant? And I think there are going to be later ones that instead of saying an Indian elephant, they say Copperaja, which is like the elephant Pokemon that was introduced in Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a thing that I knew about.
I did not know about that. My first thought was, I think this is the first Dex entry we've come across that has referenced like a real life like animal.
Real life Pokemon, even a real life animal.
Oh yeah, that's what me and you need to do. We need to go to Kenya and go on an actual Pokemon safari.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a real life animal. I feel like that's the first one. And are they? I mean, and my second thought was, I think it's interesting, but also that leans more towards it being a mouse.
Yeah.
Because they're implying that it's because of they're saying, well, not even implying, but they're saying that's because of the electric. But
but like elephants are famously scared of mice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love it if they did, at some point factor in some like Raichu Copperaja like relationship between the two species and like how they like butt heads. I think that'd be cute.
Yeah. Although I imagine that they would lean more towards the Pikachu rather than the Raichu.
Yes, of course they will, but I don't want them to.
No, well, neither do I. Neither do I.
Pikachu's had enough attention.
I agree. Isn't Pikachu just that child is the special child, and Raichu is the one that's doing their best, and they're like, no, get out of the way.
Yeah. Leaf Green has its long tail serves as ground to protect itself from its own high voltage power. Again, nothing we didn't know. Diamond goes, it turns aggressive if it has too much electricity in its body. It discharges power through its tail. Again, we knew this. Pearl is sticking with 100,000 volts as its canon number of volts. It can loose 100,000 volt bursts of electricity, instantly downing foes several times its size. So here I feel like they've gone, are we going to continue to reference elephants?
Yeah.
And just gone, big things. Instead of using a specific large thing as a reference point.
Did they have an elephant Pokemon come Gen 4?
No, not until Copperaja in Gen 9.
So that's weird that they held off it for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gen 8?
Oh, here's a question for you as well. So do you...
Well, unless you count like Donphan, and Fampi.
Yeah.
So they were elephants, but they were small elephants. They were not bigger. They were not bigger than a Raichu. They were not elephant-sized elephants.
Yeah.
They were not Indian elephant-sized elephants.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
They were like big dog-sized elephants.
There was a meme going around not that long ago about Donphan, right? And wound me up, right? Not wound me up to the level that RoboCop did. Where I had to send like an angry email. But it was, you might have seen it, and it was like, imagine you are a child and you think that there are 151 Pokemon, and then you go to watch the film, and then this bad boy turns up and blows your whole world apart. And it's like, well, no, if you watch the first episode, Ho-Oh was in it, and then Togepi, so you can get in the bin with that hot take.
That is very true.
There we go. More hot takes on this podcast to come, I imagine.
I mean, that is why we started the podcast, to do our Pokemon hot takes.
Yeah, that's true. I'd say we don't do so many hot takes anymore. We just do
We don't.
rambles.
We have some hot takes. My hot takes are normally, I'd like to see more of this. I'd like to see like this detail incorporated better rather than you just telling me it. I feel like the more we read of these Pokedex entries, the more I'm like, Pokemon has been very like tell not show. And as a person with a creative writing degree, I'm not here for it. Be better, Pokemon.
Yeah. Or hire us.
Hire us to teach you how to show and not tell.
Yeah.
So in game as well, like how to factor this into the games. Like the anime has fluctuated in quality a lot, and I think it's landed somewhere okay.
Yeah.
But I would also like to see better storytelling in the game, like these details in the game.
I can only speak for me and not you, but I will also accept a role on Beyond the Pokédex.
Yeah, but like I haven't heard much about what they're doing. I haven't seen another one happen. And now that YouTube is like refusing to let me play videos with my ad block on, I'm not gonna. Like I feel like YouTube has very much underestimated how willing I am to just never watch YouTube again.
Well, there's another again. Google, hire us and we'll sort shit out for
you. Google, stop being so exploitative in your advertising and your like how you generate ad revenue. And Google's gonna laugh me out of their office.
No, they'll go. Oh, you've had a interesting, successful Pokemon podcast. You say, sign on the dotted line. So are we up to platinum?
Platinum, yes. Its tail discharges electricity into the ground, protecting it from getting shocked. Simple. We know it. Yep, fine. Heart, Gold, and Soul Silver are the same as Gold and Silver. That has just repeated itself from before. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Black, White, and Black 2 and White 2 are the same as Platinum. Again, copying and pasting, guys. Be better. So X has copied off Gold.
Yeah.
And Y has copied off Pearl. So weirdly, like not following a pattern here, just randomly picking a professor to steal off.
Ooh.
I think
I feel like Nintendo is definitely showing its colour for not.
I do think these were some generations where they were phoning it in a little bit. I think it was where it was beginning. It's where people were beginning to say you're rushing out your release schedule, which has obviously resulted in, you know, me not particularly rating Scarlet and Violet despite its many positive qualities. And I think you can see it here because Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are again Ruby and Sapphire repeated. And while I liked Sun and Moon, Sun has repeated the Indian Elephant one. So the same as Fire Red. And Moon has a slightly new one. It becomes aggressive when it has electricity stored up. At such times, even its trainer has to take care to avoid being attacked. Now, that's new. I don't know why it's in Moon and not Sun. Yeah. And also, I'm a little bit disappointed because, I mean, it has a separate one for Alolan Raichu, but I feel like it would be fun here for them to have lent into something unique to Kanto Raichu, if that's what they were going to do, because they haven't.
Yeah.
Ultra Sun is quite an interesting one. As electricity builds up inside its body, it becomes more aggressive. One theory is that the electricity buildup is actually causing stress, which I think is pretty cool, because like when you build up energy that you don't release somehow, you do get frustrated and irritable. Like if you haven't gone for a walk in the fresh air in a little while, I don't know about you, but I turn into a fucking bitch. Like I'm an arsehole if I just haven't moved enough. Like, do you know?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I like that. I think that is one that actually gives Raichu a bit of realism.
Yeah. For me,
Ultra Moon's one is quite sad. Because so many trainers like the way Pikachu looks, you don't see this Pokemon very often. Yeah. Accurate, but sad.
Very true. Very true. Well, and that also is Mimikyu Generation 7.
Yeah, I feel like Raichu and Mimikyu should be bruds. They should be mates. They should hang out.
So they
because
should.
they're both jealous of Pikachu. There should be like a We Hate Pikachu club, and it's just made up of Raichu and Mimikyu, and like maybe Plusle and Minun because like they do suck.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Plusle and Minun. Is it Minun?
Yeah, because it's like plus and minus.
But yeah, I remember the first time I saw them and I was like, they look real, real, making me roll my eyes.
I think Plusle and Minun could have been executed so much better because the concept I don't hate, you know? But yeah, I think end result is that they fucking sucked. Yeah. So let's go Pikachu and let's go Eevee. For Kanto Raichu, have used the same one as Pokemon Yellow, which makes sense because that was a direct remake of Pokemon Yellow rather than just Gen 1.
Yeah.
And then we get to Alolan Raichu's unique Pokedex entries. So in Sun, it says it only evolves to this form in the Alola region. According to researchers, its diet is one of the causes of this change. So maybe if you took a Kanto Pikachu and fed it like foods you could only find in Alola,
yeah,
it would evolve into an Alolan Raichu if you fed it enough food before you used a Thunderstone.
Yeah. Make sure it doesn't have like IBS or anything, because then the food won't stay in it for long enough, as we discovered earlier.
Moon actually goes into the details of its psychic typing. It uses psychokinesis to control electricity. It hops aboard its own tail using psychic power to lift the tail and move about while riding it, which I think is really cool. I think, yeah, it's a nice way to like pay homage to the surfing Pikachu.
Yeah.
And I genuinely just think Alolan Raichu is great. I love it. It's my buddy for sure. Ultra Sun, it focuses psychic energy into its tail and rides it like it's surfing. Another name for this Pokemon is Hodad.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. I'm going to Google it because there's not a link to like tell me what it is. Okay, so a Hodad is a non-surfer who frequents surfing beaches and pretends to be a surfer. Wow! Hodad, someone who pretends to be a surfer or cannot yet surf. That's so... But Raichu is clearly surfing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like, because it's not surfing on water, it doesn't count. Maybe there was like a Sun and Moon anime episode I didn't watch where like there's all these Pokemon actually surfing and like they're all being mean to Alolan Raichu because it's not really surfing, it's using psychic energy rather than actually being able to surf on waves, which is mean. You can't use psychic energy to like float in the sky, you fuckers. And also, if that isn't an episode, why not? Ultra Moon has an entirely new thing. Yes, Johnny, they are surfing racists. Ultra Moon has, when you rub its cheeks, a sweet fragrance comes wafting out. However, you'll also get a light shock. And now I think Ultra Moon Professor's a bit weird, because what the fuck was Ultra Moon Professor doing to learn that?
Well, it was rubbing its cheeks.
Why? Why was it like rubbing Raichu's face and sniffing it? I don't love that.
Right, it's not implied which cheeks he was rubbing.
Gross, Tom. Don't you be doing this to me.
This is when it's revealed I am Ultra Moon Professor.
I don't know if I want to do this podcast with you anymore.
It was going to happen. That was going to happen at some point.
That's how you know he's the furry professor, because it was you all along.
Yes.
Do people even want to win that Pikachu after it's been in your house, not knowing what you've done to it?
Don't worry, it will arrive in the condition it arrives.
Don't know how I feel about that. Don't know if I want to encourage people to do this competition anymore. So let's go Pikachu and Eevee. I actually think is very cute.
It is.
The Alolan Raichu. It loves pancakes prepared with a secret Alolan recipe. Some wonder whether that recipe holds the key to this Pokemon's evolution. Which time being the food, And also, like, it's really like you think when you talk about Pokemon food, they say like berries or like poffins were a thing for a bit, and like Brock has his special recipe, like pellets made just for Pokemon. And this one's like, nah, mate, pancakes. Love it. What a vibe. What a what a cute little pancakey baby. I
Yes.
love him. And also, leans into fat Pokemon more, and bonus points for that.
Yeah. I also like the fact that like you can kind of tell that they've introduced this form, and they must be like, okay, so there's a higher chance now that people are going to be looking at these entries, so therefore we need to put a bit
Yeah,
of
they
extra.
tried to give it a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I appreciate. So Generation 9. Sword and Shield have both regular and Alolan. So Sword has its long tail serves as a ground protector of high voltage power. We've had that one already. If its electric pouches run empty, it raises its tail to gather electricity from the atmosphere. We've also had that one already. But Sword and Shield Alolan Raichu has some new
Oh,
information. So Sword has, it's believed that the weather, climate, and food, so not just the pancakes of the Alola region, all play a part in causing Pikachu to evolve into this form of Raichu. So Sword Professor's actually doing some fucking homework instead of just like shoving it full of pancakes and being like, yeah, that's probably it. Um,
um,
and then
is
for
is um is Arceus the first mention that we've had of Caparaja?
yeah, but I'm gonna go back to that one after we've finished Sword and
Oh,
Shield.
fair.
Shield has this Pokemon rise on its tail while using its psychic powers to levitate. Again, information you already know. It attacks with star-shaped thunderbolts. Interesting. I thought Thunderbolt was already sort of a shape. But okay. Then Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl again has stuff that we've heard before. I think the same as Diamond and Pearl. Then yeah, Legends Arceus has it can discharge bursts of electricity exceeding 100,000 volts. A single strike with that amount of power would incapacitate one of the Copperaja of my homeland. I like that Legends Arceus has your character writing it,
Yeah.
and it shows. It's not as professional. I think that's quite cute. And also, yeah, the mention of Copperaja has replaced the Indian elephant from before.
Well,
Um,
I've always felt it should be the character writing it rather than the professor.
yeah, it should be because like Professor Oak tasks you with going to do it. Um, Again, that could be like a fun way of doing the Pokédex going forward. Like you actually get to kind of choose which elements of the Pokemon you want to include in your Pokédex entry, based on your experience of them. Like you might see the shocks on the ground, you might see their behavior when you feed them, you might see their behavior when you battle with them, and depending on how you approach the game as you play it, like it could be like you've got to do all these different you've got to do a certain amount of battles and like clean it and feed it and like explore its environment, and then once you've like filled up a bar of experience with this Pokemon, it's like I'm ready to write this thing, and then it gives you like almost dialogue options of like the features you want to write down. I think that would be a really cool way to do the Pokedex, and I think I've just like reinvented Pokemon in a very cool way.
Yeah,
um
I mean, my thought was what you could do as well is you could, so say if you're playing like a Gen 8 game, it could do, you could like select which one of these you wanted for your own Pokedex, and it would affect the like stats of your specific Pokemon. So like you could maybe go for like its long tail serves as a ground to protect itself from high voltage power. So if you've got that, that would like boost the defense stat. Or you could have
yeah
it turns aggressive if it has too much electricity in its body. You
higher
could have
attack
that
stat.
yeah, or higher
Yeah.
SP attack and stuff.
That's cool.
And then it's like it's based on your own Pokemon.
I think that'd be really cool. Why aren't we in charge of designing these games?
I agree.
Scarlet and Violet have some shit we've already seen before. So yeah, that's Raichu's Pokedex entries.
Fabulous. Right. Well, should we head on into Smogon?
Let's do it.
Do you remember when we were like, oh, this we won't spend too long with We won't spend too long on Raichu, and here we are an hour and a half later.
I did say I was hesitant to say that because I know what I'm fucking like. I know what we're like.
Yeah, very true, very true. Right, here we go. There, I think that is a pretty cool animation that we've got for Raichu there.
Yeah, I do think Raichu is like actually a really dope design. It's like almost a shame Pikachu overshadowed it so much because I think it would have been like way popular if people hadn't
Yeah, I agree.
like
I mean,
prioritized it.
I was thinking about it before. Like, believe it or not, sometimes I think of things on this podcast and I won't ask that now because I feel like it will affect the flow of the show. Can you believe I thought that? It's everyone who's ever listened to this podcast will be like, you absolute liar and cretin. But I thought this before, right? I wonder if Raichu had the same colour scheme as Pikachu, if that might have been enough for them to go, oh well, should we evolve Ash's one and then make Raichu the star of the franchise in the same way that like Charizard is basically mascot 1A.
But also like I feel like that would have made it harder to like then go to the new regions and have Pikachu fit in with all of the baby Pokemon that they bring in, the first line. But yeah, I think the way that Pikachu is like overshadowed Raichu is part of the reason it's untiered.
Yeah.
Because no one's using it, and I actually really liked having my Alolan Raichu on my team.
There was plans for there to be a third evolution for the line.
It's Gorachu, wasn't it?
Yeah, called Gorachu. So,
Gorachu. And then they, I guess, switched it out for Pichu, and then made it still a 3 evolution line.
Yeah. Well, I don't know at what point.
Because like the designs for it, like the leaked sort of like original art for it, has inspired some like very cool fan art.
Yeah. It's red, isn't it? It's kind of more of a red design, isn't it?
Yeah, and like a lot spikier and bigger.
Because if I'm right as well, I feel like you'll know this, but people who watch the podcast, it's like, I feel like we've not mentioned this before, but Pokemon was originally meant to have 190 Pokemon in it, but they couldn't fit them all in. And I want to say Gorachu might have been part of that original 190, but got cut. And then they
maybe.
I want to say, oh, go on.
I was going to say, I feel like it's more because of, so I think it's also because like Pikachu already evolves via a Thunderstone rather than leveling up. So I feel like when that was introduced, like, well, we can't have the Thunderstone, like the Stone evolution is usually the last one after being leveled up before if it's a 3rd tier.
Yeah.
And like, so Pikachu already has like a friendship from Pichu and a Stone. Like, I think having a 4th one would definitely have been like overkill. And Raichu was already underutilized. I feel like Gorachu would have been underutilized even further.
Yeah.
I don't like, this is from a fandom wiki page, so I don't actually know how reliable it is because it's not got any links anywhere. But apparently it says in the first Pokemon game, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's the Japanese ones or English ones or what. But apparently there's a guy who asks to trade you for you to trade him a Raichu. And when you go back to him, he says that Raichu you traded me went and evolved. But then it also says this may be a translation issue. But apparently Atsuko Nishida, who was involved in like the original creation of Pokemon, said, I was told to make its final form look strong. There was an evolved form after Raichu at the game. It was called Gorachu, which is where the name comes from. And he was like a graphic artist working on it. So up until Gorachu got scrapped, he was working on it, I guess.
Yeah, and if I'm right as well, it got one of the reasons it got scrapped was because they were struggling to balance it. Because if I'm right, the types come in quite late in terms of the game's development, and I think if I'm right, electric type was quite overpowered. They were finding in the test phase, and because it was proving to be over leveled in terms of the balancing mechanics. That was one of the key reasons why they went, okay, we'll get rid of it as a 3-stage.
Yeah. Yeah, balance issues are what's cited as being like the main reason it's gone. Apparently, it was supposed to have fangs and horns.
Yes, kind of demonic as well, which like led into the red, and probably one of the reasons why Raichu is a darker colour than Pikachu.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It was going to get darker still, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yes, that was just a thought that I had, that if they'd kept it yellow instead of this kind of orangey brown, maybe that might have, made them lean towards keeping it as a mascot. But I'm not the person who designs stuff for a multi-billion-dollar company, if you can believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have a look. Let's have a look and see what it's got. So as you mentioned, yeah, untiered, and probably because of Pikachu. I imagine that if you're gonna go meta, you're probably gonna use like one of the variations of like Pikachu, like cosplay Pikachu or something like that. It's got high speed, which I'm surprised at, given that.
It's got like, I did not expect speed to be its highest stat.
Yeah. So that would appear to be something that maybe and it didn't mention that during any of the dex entries, which I was kind of looking out for at the beginning. So maybe that's something that they just made up for the anime.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because, like, it really does depend, like, where you, like, at what point you evolve your Pikachu. Because I'm going to have a look at its moveset by level up and see, where is it? Oh, game data. Want game data. Learn set by level up. So it learns it's born with quick attack. It gets quick attack at level 1. So and then I guess it gets double team at level 8, it gets feint at level 16, agility at level 24. So those are its key like speed based moves, I would guess. And so like that's not that like low to for like a Pokemon that's unevolved, assuming that like we're looking at Gen 1. Whereas let me get up Raichu's learn set. So Raichu can be born with feint still. Well, no, because it would be that Pikachu. Yeah, right. So if you evolve it at level 1, it doesn't get basically any of like Pikachu's moves. It just gets like Thunder Punch and Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt at level 5. So everything else it needs to be Pikachu to learn, or you need to teach it, which is like fine because you can still teach it a bunch of like sick moves.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there are a lot of things it can't do as a Raichu that it does do as a Pikachu. That actually have sweet fuck all to do with the speed.
Yeah.
Like, I guess Surge's point would have ultimately been get the stats early and then just teach it the moves that you want, and then you don't have to bother training it at all.
Yeah.
Because you've just given it everything it needs.
Yeah. So that does kind of link in with it. And so was that something that you purposely considered when you were getting your Alolan Raichu, or do you trade it and it comes with the moves?
You trade it and it comes with some moves, and I think its learn set is different. Um, uh, because obviously it's psychic moves, as well as like what Raichu has.
Yeah. And does it come at a set
Because like
level?
yeah, but I don't remember what because it's been a while. Um,
So,
I don't know.
so you could get a Pikachu, just evolve it at level 5, send that over, and then get like a
So
multiple
when you
leveled
evolve
up.
it, it learns. When you evolve a Kanto Raichu, it learns Thunder Punch. When you evolve an Alolan Raichu, it learns Psychic. So it gets its first Psychic type move if you didn't breed an Alolan Raichu to get a Pikachu that already has Psychic.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah. Um. Yeah.
Yes, as we've just had from Johnny in the chat, that like that would
Yeah.
appear to be a
Yeah.
mechanic of the Stone evolutions, where they
Yeah. I guess that makes sense because like the ability for the code to handle a lot of stuff in the early generations was limited, and if it didn't know what level that Pokemon would have evolved, I guess they didn't know how to factor it in, which obviously they got. I think they got better at later in later games.
yeah
But yeah, it does mean that Raichu was somewhat uh pants if you didn't leave it as a Pikachu for a little while at least.
yeah well
So Surge isn't wrong, but also it makes his strategy look like complete shit. How did he become a gym leader? Just by like TMing the fuck out of his Raichu.
yeah
Because that Raichu didn't learn a single fucking move on its own.
no. Well, shall we have a scroll down and have a look at Alolan Raichu's animation?
Let's do it.
Oh, do we have to go into its own? Must be in its own page. Let's just get that up. There he is, very cute.
Oh, he's such a cute baby.
I like the like lighter eyes.
Yeah, I think that is another throwback because the surfing Pikachu you meet in the anime had blue eyes, didn't it?
Yes, I was going to say that. I'm assuming it's connected to that. I think the other thing
Yeah.
that it's got going in its favour is that a little bit linked to what I was saying before. This feels like this is a lighter colour palette than the other
It
one.
is, yeah. Yeah. And its stats are slightly better, and I think that is reflected in that it's used slightly more. Still not loads, but slightly more.
Yeah. What does PU stand for? So PU, 5th usage, base tier. All Pokemon that are not OU, underused, rarely used, or never used by usage, and are not banned to Ubers, can be used in PU. While any of
Which is still slightly better than untiered at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Pokemon is truly PU if a typical competitive player is more than 50% likely to encounter that Pokemon at least once in a given day of playing. So it would appear that this is actually relatively is more than 50% likely. So it would appear that this is quite a popular Pokemon amongst the meta community, and it does seem that it's got like pretty sick stats. Again, what's its stats in comparison? Are they the same?
They are not the same.
They are not the same. So
I don't think so anyway.
same HP. Attack 90. Attack's 85, but I imagine special attack's going to be higher. Yeah, special attack's higher.
Yeah.
Defense is lower, but again, I'm assuming that the special defense is going to be higher. Yeah, special. So they've increased the special attack and special defense.
Yeah, because it's got that. I think that makes sense given the additional psychic typing.
Yeah. So yes, so this would appear to be the one to go with if you are a big electric Pikachu family player, but if you are a big electric Pikachu family player, the chances are you're probably actually going to be better off getting like a special variant Pikachu versus an actual Raichu.
Yeah, probably.
Although, having said that, I think it would be worth having at least one of these on your team for the psychic type.
Yeah, like I said, I liked having a Alolan Raichu on my Let's Go Eevee team. I liked using Raichu in the trading card game as well. When I had my electric deck, I did find Raichu quite handy. It can attack up to 3 Pokemon that aren't actually in game, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I definitely took advantage of that on both Pikachu and Raichu cards. Yeah. So yeah, playing as a kid, ignored the fuck out of Raichu like I think everyone else did. Playing as an adult, I have come to appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else I've noticed as well. It's doing a little lovely dance on its tail, which I think is very cute.
Yeah, it has a little float, like floating on the breeze.
Yeah, very cute.
Yeah.
So, should we give this our Trubbish rating?
Let's do it. So, I think it's been very overshadowed.
Yeah.
To the point that pre-Alolan Raichu and before I played the trading card Game Boy game, I would have given it a really low score. But because I have come to appreciate it, I'll just give it like a 5.
A 5?
Straight down the middle.
So,
and even though I don't know if that's a bit generous, because it's very specifically just in 2 games that I have learned to appreciate Raichu. But it did make a really big impact on me in those 2 games. Whereas its role in the story and its role in every other game up until then has been a bit naff. But I think it's what's making me feel a bit more generous towards Raichu is the difference from how it went from ignorable to, oh, this is fucking sick, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if it had been, this is decent, but I'm gonna go with an Electabuzz for a change, to, now I really like it because it's got a psychic type, it would still have a lower score. I think it's the space of that gap.
Yeah.
That is actually giving me, encouraging me to be a bit more generous with it. What about you?
I feel like 5 is a tiny bit too low for me. I want to give it like a 6.
All right.
Yeah. I think it is still iconic due to Lieutenant Surge.
Iconic fat boy.
Yeah.
Love an iconic fat boy.
Yeah, and they kept it a chunky baby.
Chunky boy.
But yeah, I feel like I have come to appreciate it. I've enjoyed some of the lore stuff that they've added in. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
But this is the first Pokemon which I think for us both has had a lower score than its previous forms. And I think that's less to do with it as a Pokemon and more to do with how it's been treated by the company.
Yeah, definitely. I think Raichu was definitely robbed by the Pokemon Company. I think Alolan Raichu goes some, but not all of the way to making some reparations. Yeah.
Right, should we bring it to a close after 2 hours? Only
to be fair, 1 hour 50 minutes is one of our shorter episodes.
Yeah, you know what, we are getting slick. But yeah, right, right. That is, it's only around about 45 minutes less than we had for the Pikachu episode.
I mean, that is a short one by our standards.
Very true, very true, very true. You can't be saying that we are not creating that content. Did we decide on a date for our next one?
No, we didn't. When are you free?
I am Free. Most Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evenings. Any of those jump out at you?
No, I have like no Mondays, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays until Tuesday, 28th of November. Or I could do like Thursday, 23rd.
Thursday 23rd.
Is
Let's
Thursday any good for you?
yeah, let's whack that in there.
Oy.
Um,
Thursday. Oh, I've just gone and I put in my calendar Thursday 23rd. So yeah, join us on it's Thursday 23rd of November for
yeah,
our Sandshrew
yeah.
episode.
Sandshrew, Sandslash. We're gonna do them both together. It'll be our first episode doing two in a good while. So I imagine
Yeah.
that will take 7 hours to do them both.
Because we are us.
Yeah, very true, very true. We are we are a walking advert for Adderall.
Yeah. Well, and at that, well, Johnny, you best join in on Thursday, 23rd of November to find out about what we think about your favorite Sandslash. And then, apart from that, I realize I don't need to say this too, Johnny, but as we said at the top of the show, come and see Tom's performances. Come to Blizzard Comedy. Tune in to Broadcast Avalanche, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye,
Bye.
bye bye, bye bye.